May 26, 2023. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Minis on the NinjaTrader platform, 2000 tick chart. You can look down at the descriptions below where you can see where I thought I saw setups as well as where I took my trades. It's all timestamped. There are only 2 trades that I took today. You can see they're the ones that I boxed here. They also have the arrows indicating where I entered and where I exited. Overall, it was a very, very bullish day. As you can see in the pre-market, which is this gray area, prices started moving up. There was a pullback, but then it kind of just shot up in 2 big legs, and then it pulled back and then made 2 more legs. Excuse me. And as you can see, there are a few trends going up. I saw this big one a little bit later. I actually had it established down here as a trend line, but I didn't have it as a channel yet because as you can see, it was really hard to kind of place the top because it's right here, but then you had all these overshoots and then eventually it landed up here, but it didn't really come into play all that much, but I did find an overlapping smaller channel in this pink one right here. Price action wasn't I would say it wasn't too complicated today. It was, I guess, a little bit easier, or I thought it was a little bit easier, but there still was not like, there were just not too many that I took though. And overall, most of the entries and most of the trades I think were profitable or higher probability were all longs. I mean, certainly you could have tried to squeeze out a short trade here and there, but I didn't find any that were really, really high probability. So I'm going to the trades now. As you can see here, this is the highs and lows of the pre-market, but it didn't really help in the trading today. Also, there was one piece of economic data that came out, which was the core PCE Price Index, which happened around 5:30 Pacific Standard, which is right about here. And as you can see, it didn't really move the markets. So even though this is the pre-market highs and lows, it didn't really have any real viable trades to take off of. So I'm going to get through the trades now. This is the pre-market. I don't really trade the pre-market. I do mark it up just to keep studying charts and whatnot. But the pre-market opens, and I actually see a new high here from the pre-market. You see a first entry long comes up to here, then a second entry long. So this is actually a really good signal bar. The problem with this setup is it's an inside bar to this guy. So even though it's a positive signal bar, close above the EMA, it feels very congested because it's just one after the other, all packed up, and each candle goes all the way up, comes all the way back down, or goes from the bottom to the top, and they all close near the tops and the bottoms. So it's very zigzaggy. It's also during the first minute of the trade, trading day regular hours. This is at 6:31, so this is only about 1 to 2 minutes of price action. And I'm usually a little more cautious around the very open because prices can be whipsawed because there might be orders from overnight that are just starting to get filled or traders are starting to take or initiate positions. So although this trade was there, I felt it wasn't for me a good trade to take. Prices move up. I draw this ascending channel here because I saw 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch. The top I couldn't really get to confirm too many times except for right here and then later over here. But I don't see any good setups. There's a first entry long and a second entry long. This is an okay signal bar, but right here it's a little early for me to decide to go long. I see the next setup here is a new high here. It's a first entry long followed by a second entry long. And I do see a kind of a support level down here. So this is a possible trade because even though I wasn't really sure where the top of the trend line was, at one time I actually had it down here and I treated this as an overshoot, but then it didn't. Later I drew it back up to here. But this trade right here, it is kind of bouncing off this support down here. It's a decent signal bar. And I think if I found this trend channel a little earlier because I wasn't too sure, I mean, I drew it and it kind of touched, but this touch is a little weak here, and this touch is also a little weak, and it finally confirmed here. I think if there was a better of a confirmation down here, I might have taken this trade even though it's below the EMA. And so there's also a potential triple test here, 1, 2, 3, or you could have counted it as 1 big test, 2 big tests, and then maybe group these 2, but still, it's like a triple test, so it's a reasonably decent trade to have taken, at least for a quick scalp. But I also noticed the EMA was flattening, so just wasn't as concerned though because it's kind of entering a trading range. So I had a few kind of overlap trend channels going at one time because I also draw this one. I saw 1 leg up, roll back, a second leg up, breaks out of this trend channel. I thought it might have been a breakout, failed breakout, but it comes back and it kind of respects the top of this trading range. And it also had a new high, first entry long, second entry long. I saw this, but it looked a little bit, if you actually look down, it's actually a third entry long, because technically from here you have first entry long, there's one tiny tick pullback and a tiny tick come back, move back up here. So there's actually a second entry long here. So this technically be a third entry long, but if you look at the bigger picture, it's actually one leg down, move up, and then another leg down. So you would have just kind of discounted this tiny tick, maybe just treat it as 1, 2, but I wasn't sure. Plus this candle, although it's bullish, it's very skinny. It's just also near the top. So I wasn't sure what I was looking at. So I decided I'm not even going to try to trade this. I didn't really mark it. So prices continue moving up. I see this potential second orange channel going up because I saw 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch, and I thought maybe the top would be here. So at this point, I'm looking for a touch up here, but I also saw this overriding potential big yellow channel because it kind of touched here, touched here, touched here. Also looked like it touched pretty well here, even though it's a slight overshoot, and then it touched twice up here. So I'm watching carefully as price action unfolds. Comes up, it doesn't quite hit the top, goes into this consolidation, no trades there, comes up, touches the top of not only this guy, but also this big yellow one. So now I'm watching carefully, technically made a new high, it might get rejected, comes down, makes one first entry long, and then makes a second entry long. This is actually where I took my first trade. So this is what I saw. I saw 2 clean legs down, 1, 2. It broke out of this orange trading channel, but then it also hit the midline. It's also touching the EMA. So I saw all of this. I thought it was a good signal bar since it bounced right off the EMA. Also, this is the first test of the EMA for a while. I mean, it did break out here, but it touched once and it kind of pushed up. So I'm thinking it made 2 legs down. It might try to go back into this trend channel. Although this could also be seen as one big leg, push up, and then another leg. So here I just thought there was enough of an opportunity to at least get a quick scalp out. So I enter right here, 1 tick above. I have my stop down here, and I was able to get my scalp out, and then my runner got stopped out 1 tick above where my entry was. So if I had kept my stop down here, my runner probably would have been able to get a little bit more profit and probably would have been able to ride this up. But my rule is once the scalp is made, I always move my stop loss on my runner to not break even, but 1 tick above break even, just so I always walk away with a true break even. I didn't give any money back. So anyways, it worked out pretty well for a quick scalp. Prices continue moving up. It's kind of within this dominating yellow trend channel now. Comes, pulls back. I have first entry long. Technically, it's a second entry long here, but I also just saw it as 1 high. First entry long comes up. Now it's making a second leg down. I'm seeing a potential second entry long. So it's actually saw first entry long, a potential second entry long. I also counted in the smaller category because this is a 1 leg down, a second leg down. I saw this first entry long. I see a potential second entry long forming right here. It's a pretty decent signal bar. It's bouncing off the bottom of this ascending trend channel, but I didn't like the that the close was below the EMA because it could be a breakout. It could be 1 leg, 2 leg. Plus, it didn't complete the measured move yet. So it could just be a small little failure and comes back down and bounce down here. So I saw it, but I didn't think it was a good trade. So I just skipped it. Turns out it was holding on the bottom here. It would have worked out. Prices continue moving up. Price is now chopping down, breaks out of this ascending yellow channel. But remember, I still have this big one that I don't believe in too much. At least I believe the bottom part is support, but the top I'm not really sure is a channel yet. So I am keeping this in mind. I just drew, so this is actually adjusted from here. Then I brought it up to here because it fit a little bit better on these 2 touches as opposed to having it lower with these 2 touches and then having this really prolonged overshoot, which I didn't really like. So I drew it up to there. So I'm working off this potential channel here. I said price is going down, chops up. It was in a small trading trend channel, breaks out, continues moving down. I see potential 1 leg, 2 leg. And here, when it touches here, I thought maybe there's a shortened trend channel or a channel coming down here because it had 2 good touches. And at one time, I actually had this a little bit higher, the slight overshoot. It respects this resistance pretty well, and it comes all the way down to here. So now I'm watching very high interest. I'm looking at this and I see first entry long, and it actually doesn't make a second entry long till you make it all the way down here. So this is potentially a second entry long here. However, this signal bar is looking kind of iffy. I'm not sure if this is going to be a confirmation of this ascending trend channel, because the only confirmations I had down here, so I don't know if it was really strong enough to hold here, or if this support was really valid, but I am keeping it in the back of my mind. The signal bar is kind of neutral, not the best signal bar. Now, this is a double top. It made one move lower and one leg higher. Now, I think if I had a little bit more experience, I'd probably recognize this, because this is like a pretty good confirmation touchdown here. If I were to enter, I would have put it one tick above, because this candle is about 7 ticks. So it's like a 2-point risk. It would have gotten the scalp here, and it breaks out of this shortened trend channel. And I also saw a potential higher low coming up. Now this higher low, if I didn't feel confident taking this, I think this higher low would have been a more viable option. But it is a little bit negative. But once it bounces off and the close of this candle, I think I would have, I saw it take place, but I wasn't, if this had only closed a little bit more bullish, then I think I would have liked this trade, because it is bouncing off the bottom of this trend line and is confirming the second entry long here. So from here, first entry long, this high, first entry long, second entry long, pulls back, higher low. Unfortunately, the signal bar isn't good enough. I wish it was, but I think if I had a little bit more experience, I probably would have recognized it faster. And I would have put my entry one tick above this red candle and hope that it comes back and picks me up. Turns out, I think you might have been able to squeeze in an entry right here, because this kind of just comes back down. So you might have been able to get it, but you had to be pretty quick. And then prices would have chopped sideways, and then this candle most likely would have given you the scalp. And then if you had a runner, you probably would have been able to take the runner and get a little bit more off of it. The prices come down. This is where I take my second trade of the day. So on U high here, I draw this shortened trend channel going up. I like these confirmations here, as well as the two, well, however you counted it, there's at least 2 touches up here and 3 touches down here. So on U high, first entry long, comes back second entry long. So this, I will admit, is a little congested, but it is also the first break of this shortened trend channel, and it touched the bottom of this big ascending trend channel, which has been proven to be holding at this previous setup. So I thought this is probably a worthwhile trade to take. I go ahead and enter. I got a little bit of slippage because it's actually two ticks above this close, because I actually put my entry one here, but I think I was a little bit slow with my entry. So I wanted to enter 1 tick above, but I ended up getting entered 2 ticks above, which is fine. I got my scalp. Prices continue moving up. I drag my runner behind, and I get ticked out right here. So it worked out pretty well. Prices continue to move back down. It comes back, touches this ascending channel, which is good. I saw another setup here, new high, first entry long, second entry long. The problem with the second entry long, it's a nice, excuse me, it's a nice trade that in that the EMA is holding. The EMA did have a breakthrough a little bit, but overall it's still holding. But this signal bar isn't the best, and then it flashes up. Now this signal bar, even though it's a bullish signal bar, it closed bearish 1 tick below its open. So I wasn't that comfortable. Plus these were all side-by-side candles. On top of that, this candle here, the signal bar, is an inside to this bullish one. So I wasn't 100% sure. I should have trusted the strength of this bottom part of this channel, but I didn't. And this probably would have been a reasonably good trade to have taken, but I hesitated and I missed that trade. So prices continue moving up. Staying within this yellow channel, as you can recognize, the overall sentiment has been bullish. So I'm definitely not looking to short at all, because it just feels like it'd be risky going counter trend. So I see a new high, first entry long, pulls back. Now this is setting up for a second entry long here. If the next candle breaks above this guy, it would be a true second entry long. The problem with this is it's a good signal bar. It's closed at the top, there's no body, and it's closed right at the EMA. So I'm not 100% sure if prices are kind of losing power now, because all before on this yellow orange channel, you saw it move from the bottom to the top, back to the bottom, almost makes it to the top, and it's at least it's holding to the midline now. But it didn't quite make it to the top. That could also be that my trend line here, trend channel, isn't valid, but I thought it was pretty valid because it had pretty good confirmations at the bottom. But I noticed it's kind of losing power. So to go long, I felt it was a little risky. So if I put it one tick above here, I would have gotten filled, would have had sweated out, and actually it would have come down to the same low, but it wouldn't have ticked below, which would have been where my exit was. And then it looks like it would have moved up and definitely given me the scalp, at least here, or on this red candle here. Prices then move up. Now they come back down because it looked like it hit a resistance up here. So I drew this resistance up here, but I wasn't sure if it was a true trading range yet, because at one time I actually had it a little bit higher. It breaks out, and I'm thinking it might be a failed breakout, and it might go back in. It does go back in, then it kind of comes back out again. So this time I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is a triple test or potential lower here, or a potential support down here. So I actually have a new low, first entry long. Technically, there's a second entry long here, but I look at it as a big visual. First move down, pulls up. So that's the first entry long. Second move down. There's a potential second entry long going to be confirmed on this candle. So I thought this is actually probably a pretty decent trade right here, a possible trade, because there's a double micro bottom down here. And it closed very strong. And you have to remember, overall sentiment is bullish. And I actually don't have this green channel drawn yet. So this green channel doesn't exist yet. So I'll just move that out of the way so you can ignore him. Put it right here. And so this is a pretty decent setup to have taken, even though it's below the EMA. It's a pretty strong bar that moved up, even though it's kind of inside of this guy. When this one formed, it might have given me hesitation, but I think I would have either entered probably on this big green candle. So it made one move down, pushed up, and then it's pulled back. And I'm thinking it probably has enough oomph to try to push back up to try to test this high. So it made one attempt, pulls back, second attempt. So when you just saw that, that's what I was thinking in real time. But I just didn't feel super confident yet. So I didn't take the trade. Prices continue moving down. It's on new high here, first entry long, potential second entry long here. The problem with this second entry long is, excuse me, it's not the best signal bar until you get to here. And the signal bar makes a double micro bottom, which is nice. And it is potentially the bottom of this trading range, but this trend channel, but I don't have enough confirmation. I actually had a breakout here. So I wasn't 100% sure if it was going to break out. And at this time, I wasn't sure if this trading range might actually have been a little bit lower to encapsulate this. So this might have been a failed breakout. Prices moved up. As soon as I saw this price and I had this here, I thought, okay, then this might actually be in a channel coming down. It touched twice, and it looks like it kind of confirmed 3 times down here, although there's an overshoot, but I don't trust it fully yet. So it turns out you got one leg up, pulls back a second leg up. And the reason also that this might have been a reasonably good trade, going back to this guy, is there's one measured move down, 2 pushes up, and a second measured leg down. On top of that second measured leg down, there's two legs within it. A move down, up, a move down. So it could have been viewed as the downtrend has played out. So this, even though it's an inside bar, might have enough power to get back up to the EMA, which it did. So I'm just going to chalk that up to more experience, that if I see this more often, I'll recognize it in real time, and probably felt a little more confident taking this second entry long failed breakout. And then prices continue moving up, touches the top, and then flashes down, breaks out, breaks through this descending channel, goes up. It does make a new low here, first entry short. You technically have a second entry short here, but it doesn't look very clean. So it's a first entry short, technically you have a second entry short, but I didn't really count it as that. I just saw it as first entry short, and I was looking for a more solid second entry short because you get technically another second entry short here. But this might have been a reasonably good trade, I think, if I saw, again, more instances of this, and maybe I feel a little bit more confident. But at this time, I also end up drawing this here, because I saw this touches up here, And then I saw, okay, there's two confirmations here. Maybe if I get a third touch, I believe in this bigger channel. So prices continue moving up, breaks out of this trading range. This is no real place to enter. Comes up. I do see a double top here, first entry long. That's all you get. I also see another high here, first entry long. You get a second entry long here, but it's too far from the EMA. It's a good candle. It's already at the top though, so I was not too keen on taking that entry. Perhaps if it pulled back a little bit more to the EMA and it had more room to the top, I would have taken this trade, but it was just too tight up here. I see a new low here. First entry short, second entry short is a failed second entry short. Now this failed second entry short, excuse me, had a pretty strong move back up, right? And it's bouncing off the EMA. Excuse me. After three strong bearish bars coming down, and it is respecting the EMA, or at least once here, and now it looks like it's respecting the second time. So when it flashed back up, I'm thinking there was a possible trade here because it engulfed this entire move down and already broke through halfway of this candle. However, what made me hesitate was thinking, I don't know if there's enough room to the top. So it comes back up, and I do see a new high here, first entry long, second entry long right here. Well, I'm always looking for setups, and so when this happens, I'm always thinking, could there be a second entry long here? So technically made a second entry long, but also broke out of this trend channel. So I'm thinking, okay, it broke out once, it tried to make a new high, and now broke out a second time, and it tried to make a new high. So I was expecting it to kind of come up here, but it didn't. It flashed down pretty strong. So it could be a failed second entry long. It hasn't confirmed and failed yet. And then this candle, it does fail. So I thought I saw from this high, one push up after failure. It kind of came back in, but it didn't really close clean outside. So it's like still could be considered inside this range. So this is actually the first breakout. So if you saw it as one high, if you did count this as the first break, and this is the first attempt to make the new high, this would be the second attempt, and it failed. So you think that maybe prices are coming back down. However, there's a lot of congestion here. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have had the idea to take a short right after the close here because it feels a little ambitious considering the whole day has been super bullish. But if you did take it, you probably would have gotten filled and maybe got your profit here, and definitely would have got your scalp here. But when I saw this, I didn't think to take a short. Then when I saw this one close, I felt like I was already too late to try to take a short. But I also wasn't going to try to reverse and think it's going to go back up because there's no real setup. So then prices here, it gets to look very congested. Then prices kind of keep moving. I don't really like anything here. I mean, this is technically a new low, first entry short. Technically, you're going to have a second entry short here, and then you could consider this a second entry short and potential failure. But there's also the first break of this shortened trend channel, and also it's getting pretty late in the day on a holiday weekend, and so I wasn't sure, and I have to admit, I think I was mentally getting a little fatigued, so I was probably just riding this out till the end of the day for it to close without really seriously looking at a trade. But it ends up if you did take a long here for a failed second entry, you would have gotten stopped out. And prices continue shopping around. Kind of just makes two. I thought it would make another measured move up because it made one push up and then potentially a second, but it doesn't. And it just kind of goes into the close. So that was how I saw the charts today. Only took two trades, both for green. And there were a couple other trades in here that I thought were probably worth taking, but for one reason or another, I didn't take them. So hopefully that was helpful.